Alright, now there's your brand new bike. Now that you've had it a bit and you've rode it a little bit, the engine and the parts have had a chance to break in, heat cycle a few times, and these are just some of the little simple maintenance things that a person should do to ensure that you don't have any problems, you don't get left stranded out there or anything from any loose nuts and bolts. When the bikes are brand new, everything is tight and snug when you receive it, how it should be. But as you ride it, all the parts move a little bit, stretch a little bit, what we like to refer to as meet each other. So to ensure that you have no problems, it's always a good idea just to check a nut and bolt here and there. Now you don't have to super tighten them. We know everybody doesn't own a torque wrench at home, so a snug bolt is a lot better than a not snug bolt. So let's get started. You can start anywhere, but it's just a good idea to check every one that you can easily access. You'll start by checking your exhaust bolts, making sure they're snug, because in the beginning the gasket is new, has never been heated. After you've ran it a bit, it's not the vibration that makes nuts and bolts loose, it's the heating and shrinking of the metal being hot when the engine gets hot and cools off. A lot of folks call us and come by and have exhaust muffler problems, but that's the only reason they do. They're not vibrating and getting loose. When you have a new gasket in there or a new motor kit, the gasket is new, it heats and shrinks a couple times, and then it needs snugged up. This one appeared to be okay, so we shall move on. Check our shift lever, check our intake bolts. Now the head is nice to tighten with a torque wrench. That's the tech way to do it. But if you don't have a torque wrench, this is more than an adequate way to do it. You'll want to use a cross pattern, which is an X. Always seems to be proficient. The nuts sizes differ, so I can't tell you exactly what size nut your engine has, but just give them a little snug, a little tug to make sure that they are snug like they're supposed to be, because those also, after a few cycles of heating and cooling, sometimes they stretch or the washers relax a little bit that are under the nuts, compressing the head down. And then guys will be like, you know, I thought I felt a little air coming out of there after a little riding, but after it warms up, I don't feel it anymore and it runs a lot better. Well, that is because when it was brand new, no one retorqued the head nuts or even checked to see if they were snug, and it's got a little head gasket leak. It's not the end of the world, but it does make you pedal a whole lot more to get her started. So if you check those 4 nuts and bolts, or nuts I should say, you shouldn't have any problems. So we've checked our exhaust, we've checked our head, we've checked our intake, we've checked our clutch lever. We will reach down here to the motor mount section. Make sure that one's tight. We will roll around to the other side because it's easier to get to it from this side than trying to reach through. Make sure that's tight. Make sure that one's tight. Always a good idea to check your back motor mount, make sure they're tight. That's tight. That one's tight also. You really shouldn't have to tighten the studs on the gas tank. If they're mounted correctly, your gas tank shouldn't wobble and bobble all over the place. But if you do have to, you just put them just a smidgen over finger tight, because they are soldered studs to the bottom of the tank, and it is real easy to over tighten them, crack the weld, and then your gas tank leaks and you're just in bad shape. Now you got to get a new gas tank. Just a FYI there. All right, our last maintenance check would be our chain. Now you don't want a chain that is tight like a banjo string. You want a little play in your chain. If it's tight, it puts a lot of stress on the rear back wheel bearings and the bushing in the engine that drives the chain. So if you can possibly avoid that, try to avoid that. You want just a little bit of play in there, so it's nice, relaxed, and flows smoothly. And it should be, last but not least, just give your chain tensioner a look over to be super sure. Check the nuts and bolts on the mount, and they also bolt for the pulley. Usually you have no problems with it getting loose. It's not like the motor, it doesn't get hot and cold and contract and swell, but it's just a good idea to give it a once over. This little 5-minute procedure will save you a lot of time and breakdowns that are completely unnecessary if you just put a little effort in and keep an eye on your nuts and bolts on your bike. All right, well, I hope that helped a few people. Hit the like button and subscribe to our page. We'd appreciate it. If you have any questions, leave them in your comments below and we will get back to you. All right, thanks for watching.